Hey there friends, and thanks for joining me again, and this is another Quick Tip Tuesday video, but it's also going to be one more to add to the homemade cleaning, natural cleaning stuff series, and this is actually, I think we have two more after this and then we're done. So this has definitely been one of the more requested ones, and it's actually a recipe that drove me crazy for years. Unfortunately, I have a lot of different types of flooring in my house. In my dining room and living room I have a real hardwood floor. In my kitchen I have a vinyl. In both of my bathrooms I have, ceramic tile, and then in my basement laundry room I have porcelain tile, and then 2 bedrooms we have carpet, and then my last bedroom we have laminate wood. So with all these different types of flooring, it's been a challenge to find a recipe that works on all of them. Well, this recipe does that. However, I would say that while this works okay for the hardwood floor, there is a recipe I have that I'm going to share at a later date that does a little bit better at making sure it's, better taken care of. It has a nice shine. It's going to, keep it moisturized so that it doesn't crack and other things like sometimes hardwoods can do. So yeah, this works in a pinch. It won't damage your hardwood floor. Homemade recipes that use vinegar are definitely not suitable for a regular hardwood because it can eat through the protecting that's usually put on it. This does not have vinegar in it, so it is safe to use, but it's not going to make it look as pretty as, the recipe that's specific for hardwood is going to. So there you go. It works on all the rest, all the different types of tiles, the laminate wood, the vinyl, everything else. So there are also 2 different types of mops, of course, that you could be using. There's the old school style where you would use maybe with a mop bucket or even a sink or whatever you have available. And then a smaller mop, one of these with like one of these basins that you can refill, and then like a trigger at the top, and it can, spray at the bottom, and then has these reusable, pads that you can take off and then throw in your wash. Of these 2, I prefer this one a little better. Much easier to use if someone forgets to take off their shoes or whatnot, and we just track in a little bit of something, we can just get it really quick. Very easy to take off the little pads and then to wash them again, and so, I can make less solution and make it last longer with a mop like this. But I do have a recipe for both because I do once in a while, say I'm having company over or something, I want to just give the whole floor a really good once over. I'll go ahead and use my big one. So yeah, the recipe is going to have things that work for disinfecting the floor as well as, of course, scrubbing off the soil and other things that we can track in sometimes. Because, when we go outside and we bring in, a lot of stuff on our shoes, unfortunately, people spit on the sidewalks and dogs do their business in the grass, and if you homestead like me, then you're out in a chicken pen and then you're bringing it back in, or if you have pets in the house, like I have 2 cats, they'll go and use their litter box and then walk around on the floor, and so we definitely need to both get off the soil on the floor as well as disinfect it. So the first thing in the recipe for the small batch, which is going to be for the mop, say like this, it's going to be 2 cups of water, and then we're going to use a 1/4 cup of alcohol. Same thing we use for a lot of our homemade cleaning supplies. A 1/2 teaspoon of soap. This is going to help get off the soil. The vodka alcohol is going to help disinfect it. And then we're going to add 5 drops of a tea tree oil and then 10 drops of another essential oil. I prefer pine just because one of the most common floor cleaners out there just so happens to have a pine scent as well, and so I'm kind of modeling this recipe after that one. But if you don't have or don't like pine, don't feel like you have to use it. You could also use a lemon, orange. You could also use a lavender, something else, whatever it is you prefer or have. And so this is going to help, disinfect a little better. The pine is mainly for this end, so again, yeah, you can use other ones if you prefer. So mix that all together and throw it in your reservoir, and then this will keep for a while, so you can just use it to spot mop on your floor until it's empty and then make another one. So this will last several months, and so you don't have to feel like, you have to use it all at once. So if you wanted to use, say, a bigger batch and want to use one of the older style mops, then the recipe is going to be about a 1/2 gallon of water, and then 1 cup of the alcohol, 2 teaspoons of the soap, and then 40 drops of the essential oil of your choice, again, whatever you prefer, or pine if you would like, and then 20 drops of the tea tree. So yeah, mix all that together, mop as usual. So yeah, really super easy to use, helps get off the soil on the ground, and helps disinfect everything that we may track in on accident. So yeah, I look forward to giving you, I think, 2 more videos until all of the homemade cleaners are all done. I walk down the aisle in the big box store or the grocery store, and I look and I see all these different cleaners, and I have, you know, one to replace almost all of them. And so yeah, with just a couple more cleaners, we're gonna be good. So thanks for joining me again. I'm Frugal Green Girl, and we'll see you next time.